Hello and welcome to another episode of the Molten Truth. I am your host, Zoe Michaels. For more information about me, I am at zoemichaels.com. Today, we are here to talk to Tong, and I'm not going to say her last name because, frankly, I can't. But she very graciously says you can call her TG or a couple different variations. So she's a super nice lady. She's a very experienced writer. So much so that when I initially, before I even met her, I was doing my research on her, found that she has even been in a spot on websites like Medium that are great for authors to learn more about our craft. She's wonderful for advice, and you're just going to love talking to her. Just the challenges that she faced and faces even now with her writing, but she loves her craft so much that she keeps doing it. So, without any further introduction, I'm going to introduce you to TG. Hi
Thank
there.
you, Zoe. Yeah, hi. Thank you for having me here.
It's my pleasure. So I would love for you to just kind of introduce yourself, tell us about you and how you came to be a writer.
Okay, I'm a first generation Chinese immigrant to Canada, and I came here in the late 80s. But my profession, my professional training education has nothing to do with creative writing. I have a Master of Science degree, and my job is a financial advisor. But I wanted to be a writer since I was in junior high, and that dream has never died. So, as an immigrant, after you graduate, the first priority is the job, surviving, and also it takes quite some time for people like me to master English because English is my second language. Writing in a second language is hard enough. Imagining you're writing a fiction in a second language, so there's tons of challenge. But my family stories of three generations are so not only dramatic, but also very. It's kind of like a can represent their generation because their generation, like people experience the similar hardship and challenges and wars and the political regime change, and they suffered a lot, including me. So there's a strong desire to write those stories into books. And my first book, The House Failure, is based on my grandmother's story, like my mother's mom. I've
Okay.
been, my mom has been telling me her family side of story since I was a child. So I'm familiar with those. I'm familiar with the stories as I grew up. But writing it into a fiction and that people actually like to read, it's not easy. And
Yes.
it took me 20 years to finish the three books. The first
Okay.
book is published, is based on my grandmother. Second book is based on my parents' story, mainly my mother. And I have finished the revising and everything. Now is I'm shopping for an agent. And the third book is based on my own story up until the time I was leaving China.
Okay.
So that's how I was inspired.
Absolutely. So at this point in time, the second book is the next one that's going to be out there for readers to read. It's the one that's
That's
going to be
correct.
published next. So
That's
the
correct.
third book's still in the future. You've got it written, but it's not ready for the market yet.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's very cool. It's interesting because not only are you giving history, you're also approaching it from another culture. So this is kind of a dual thing that you're conveying information. And I agree. Writing something in fiction sometimes is a little bit more difficult, but it's like that. I'm gonna show my roots here. Growing up watching like movies like Mary Poppins, just a
Yeah.
spoonful of sugar makes the
That's
medicine go down.
yeah. That's right.
Sometimes we
Yeah.
need that fiction to learn that little bit of actual information because it's easier to assimilate,
That's
just like
right.
that sugar and medicine.
Yeah. So I believe authors like me, our we can write stories that um, I'm familiar with North American readers, but it's
Mhm.
original and it's fresh and it's
Yeah.
unique, and
Yes,
at the same time it's universal because human suffering is universal,
it is.
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
N- Now, you had told me that you had always dreamed of being a writer, I think since you were what, a teenager?
I was since I was in junior high.
Junior high. Yeah.
Yeah,
So back then, what kind of stories did you imagine you would write versus what you actually ended up writing?
I had no idea. I just
Okay.
wanted to be a writer. I grew up uh, at the time because okay, it's a little bit history of China between 1966 and 1976. China had something called the Cultural Revolution.
Okay.
So during this time, 99% of books were banned. There's just no books to read. There's only one author in the whole China. Only his book was published. His books were published. There's only 8 Chinese operas that were allowed to, because they were revolutionary operas, were allowed to show like in a stage and in the movies. And we had some Chinese movies about how we fought against the Japanese invasion, and
Mhm.
later the civil war between the communists and the nationalists. But in China, this civil war is called liberation war because communists believe they liberated the Chinese people from the nationalists.
Oh.
And so there's some movies about those that they were allowed to show. They were like revolutionary movies. And also we had the opportunity to watch very few foreign movies, like, such as the Soviet Union movies, Czechoslovakia movies. Um, so we grew up almost like in a desert of culture and arts and books. There's no access. So when I was in junior high, I only knew I want to be a writer. I had no idea what kind of writer I wanted to be until in 1976, Chairman Mao passed away. So the Cultural Revolution was officially ended. And then by the early 80s, China started the economic reform and opened its door to the world. That was a time we were able to read foreign novels and the books and the arts. It's like it will pour in, just like it was just such a wonderful time because you felt like you were in the desert and then suddenly it was rain and the landscape become green. So
Wow.
I was in college, like I was reading, lots of us reading like day and night.
Mhm.
It was at that time, then you realize, holy, there's such a beautiful world out there. We did not know.
I can only imagine what that must have been like.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm still I'm thinking back to I think the early 2000s,
yeah,
back when I lived on the West Coast. I remember some friends traveling to China, and I think I remember them bringing like their own personal copy of the Bible with the intention of leaving it
yeah,
for someone over there because I believe at that point in time that was also banned.
yeah. It was
Um,
fun. Yeah, but
yeah,
I also knew young people. There's some of them, they try to learn English from Bible.
yeah,
Yeah, and I remember I was caught, like me and my friend we were caught reading novels and poetries like at the in the class under the table. Teachers were not very happy. Well, actually, one classmate, the teacher took his book and threw out of the window, like out of the third floor of the building.
wow, wow, oh my
And
goodness,
we have 7 students in the same dormitory, like in the same room.
yeah,
4 bunk beds, but 11 o'clock was the time you're supposed to turn off the lights and go to sleep. Um,
hmm,
then I would try to read, not just me, some other classmates. We try to read novels in under the sheet with with a flashlight.
and what age was this in college?
That was
Oh,
in college. Yeah,
wow,
it was more like in China. The college is totally different from here. It was almost like a semi-military. Like you have to get up at 6 o'clock. Everybody goes to exercise ground, to
Wow.
exercise. Everybody, goes to breakfast at 7. Everybody goes to class at 8, and it's very, very structured. If you don't get up in the morning, you'll be in trouble. Like the group leader will bang on your every dormitory door
Wow.
to get people up.
But I can see where there'd be some benefit to that because you'd be raised to be very disciplined.
Yeah, true.
Frankly, I
Yeah,
could have used that.
that's right. Yeah, at probably 11 p.m., the gate of the college will be closed, will be locked up,
Hmm.
and we were often went out to watch movies, but we came back late than 11, right? So we have to either try to awake the doorman. His room is just right next to the gate, but if he
Hmm.
refused to come out, we have to climb the gate.
Boy, I take it it's not electric then.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was very good at climbing the airing gate.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So a little
Yeah,
bit of a troublemaker, a little bit of a rebel there.
yeah, but I early 80s. You know how much we pay for a movie? 10 cents.
10 cents.
And lots of time is also free. If you go to another university campus, like they will have free movies showing in their
Wow.
on their campus. But if you go to theaters, 10 cents per ticket.
Wow. Which I mean, as amazing as that is, I was thinking about this a while back that my whole family, and I came from a pretty good sized family, but we used to be able to
Okay.
go to the movies in the 80s here in the United States, the whole
Mm,
family for about $20, including snacks. But 10
yeah,
cents, I mean, wow, I can't even fathom 10 cents to
yeah.
go to the
But
movie.
we didn't have like a popcorn or drink. It's just
Just the movie.
just movie. Yeah. But in China they could be very innovative. I remember in the 80s, late 80s in Beijing,
Hmm.
they in the theater they already have like a lover seat. So it's like a double seat without the rail in between.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's called a love seat.
I like that.
Even today, I hardly can find a love seat in the theater.
Yeah, it's practically unheard of. You might
Yeah,
have a seat where the seat will raise like in the back of a car where
yeah,
you could potentially have two together.
yeah.
Right now I'm just thrilled that we can actually put our feet up when we're at the theater like a lounge chair. I'm like, "Yay!
That's
Strides
right. Yeah,
forward."
yeah.
So what kind of movies were available in the 80s while you were
Um,
in China?
by the 80s, we start to have American movies and Japanese movies and Indian movies.
Okay.
I think Indian movies were the earliest one to be imported because they're mostly singing and dancing. And
Sure.
some Japanese movies, like they have like very serious topics. I think that's was well received, and
Yeah.
some American movies as well. But I think they also censor those movies. There's a very famous Japanese movie was about a comfort woman, uh,
Okay.
her life in South Pacific during the Second World War,
Okay.
and then how she was discriminated when she returned to her hometown. Nobody, even her own son, wouldn't talk to her. So in the movie, there's some like a sex scene. Like
Mhm.
the Chinese the censorship, they cut off so many things, and sometimes the story just disconnected. Like, oh, where did you go from here to here, right? And I didn't watch the entire movie until the 1990s when I found that DVD in New York.
I do understand that.
Yeah,
We had a little bit of that, not at the theaters here, but when I was a girl watching movies on television,
yeah,
I grew up, watching movies like with The Man with Two Brains with Steve Martin and other movies
yeah.
um, that had those kind of scenes cut out, thinking, okay, these are great movies. And then seeing the whole thing later and going, oh, I
Oh,
never saw that scene before. What?
yeah, exactly.
That shock factor.
It's not what I remembered.
Oh no, like if I'd known it was like that, I wouldn't have brought my grandma with me, kind of,
Right,
or I wouldn't have gone to see it myself in some cases.
yeah,
But
right,
but
yeah,
it's amazing when you get like the full story versus the
yeah,
cleaned up version.
exactly. Yeah, that's right.
Sometimes I like the cleaned up version better.
Yeah, it's better for children.
Yes, and sometimes even for us as adults.
Yeah.
Now, I have this note from our earlier conversation. Let's see if I can find it here. I have something where I was thinking, like, from a literature standpoint, you were like the story of Goldilocks and the Three Bears, where this one was too little, this one was too. I think you were hunting for a publisher. This one was too busy or too big. This one was too small.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear about that from when you were shopping around for your first publisher.
Actually, when I first finished the novel, it was a one big long one with 240,000 words.
Okay.
And I couldn't find a publisher, and I did not know why.
Mhm.
Until later, a mentor told me it was too long for literary fiction. You have to divide into 2 or 3 books. So that's how I divide into 3 books. And but still, even for the first book, I had the issue about pace because I don't know if I'm too fast or too slow. I don't know if I should leave this part in or out or take
Mhm.
it out. And of course, I was seeking professional help. Developmental editors,
Mhm.
but I hired one more than one such editors. But when they give you conflict advice, whose advice do you take, right? Because if you're not experienced enough, you do not know. I did not know. So eventually I took one my mentor's advice. So I started a book much later. Like actually my new chapter 1 was the old chapter 7.
Okay.
And I took out some parts, some portions. And then after it was published, this one reader, and generally I get a 4 or 5 star rating, but I got a 3.5 star rating,
Mhm.
and that person said it was too fast. So like you never know. So of course my friends they read the book since I was writing that, and
Mhm.
one particular friend he is just lament about those parts I cut out. Right? So
Mhm.
it's really a hard thing to do. It's really hard because you just don't know. I mean, you
Yeah.
could try, you could hire all the professionals, you could get the feedback from everyone,
Mhm.
but at the end, in the end, you still have to make that decision yourself.
True. Ultimately, it's your vision. You're
Yeah,
the one who has to decide how you're going to tell the story.
yeah. But I
But
think that today, like I'm way more confident and experienced. Like for my second book, I don't have that problem.
that's good.
It's just I had problem with the first book.
Well, and it's a learning curve.
Yeah, that's
When
right.
you first go out to get published, when I decided that I was going to start writing with the intent of publishing, because I've always written, but it was the first time I decided I was going to publish, and I decided to self-publish. I made so many mistakes, and I've been learning ever since.
We all
So
do. We all
that
do. Yeah,
I think that's just the norm. But you have to start somewhere.
yeah,
If you don't get started, you'll never get where you're going. You'll never reach the goal you want.
exactly.
Mistakes are inevitable, but the key is start moving.
Yeah, it's just that you can learn how to swim without getting into the water, right?
Right. You might swallow a lot of water on the way, but
Exactly. Yeah,
just watch out for sharks.
that's right. Yeah. No, you start with swimming pool. You start with ocean. Yeah,
True.
yeah. Mm.
But um so you have had some unique challenges also in your writing, in your journey to become a writer. Would you like to share that with our audience?
I think my unique challenges are two. One is language. We talked about that. One
Mhm.
is my physical condition because I suffered repetitive strain injuries in my both arms, and this is like over 20 years old injury. But
Mhm.
today I still cannot type much. If I type, I cannot type as much as a normal person. If
Mhm.
I do that, my arms will just I'll just re-injure myself.
Mhm.
And it happened twice in the last few years. I re-injured myself because I just sometimes not even typing, like even constantly cut and copy and paste or do the editing here and there, or like if you do it long enough,
Hmm.
for me, I just couldn't take it. So that's another reason it took me like 20 years for the 3 books. I'm not a, I'm basically a person with disability.
Okay. And
Yeah.
it's been that way for how long? Like, have you been that way your whole life,
No,
or?
no, no. Since 2002, I was injured at work.
Oh, okay. So that's how that came about.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you're working all day. I'm assuming you're doing a fair amount of typing as a financial planner. That or you've got a great secretary.
Uh, we do have assistants.
Okay, that
You
helps.
still have to, today's, or like if you're white collar worker,
Hmm.
pretty much work in front of a computer, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. So there's a lot of repetitive motion
yeah,
involved with that.
exactly. Yeah.
So, so do you write on a daily basis, or how do you continue with your situation?
I used to write on a daily basis, but
Mhm.
now because all 3 books are finished, I don't write every day, but I write most of the days. I write other stuff. So usually I write at night because to me, my daytime is for my day job. So I feel guilty if I write during the day. I work from home. I could do whatever I want, but I just feel guilty. And so
Yeah.
like evening, oh, this is my own time. I can do whatever I want.
Mhm.
So usually I work in the evening, but I would work until like 12, 1, 2 a.m. in the morning.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So when you're considering ideas, are you typing them into something? Are you writing them down, or are you maybe using a voice recorder? How are you working around with what you have with your with again within your limitations?
When I was writing these books, I just the voice recognition was not advanced as much as today, so
Hmm.
I still had to type. But
Hmm.
today, I can dictate um, lots
Good.
of most of things. And the technology is much much better than 20 something years ago. So
That's
20 years ago, even though there's also such software called there's one called Dragon,
mhm.
but because of my accent, my
Oh yes.
accuracy rate was pretty low. So
Yeah.
in order for me to correct all the mistakes, it's the same as if I just type them out. Um, so I couldn't. But today, I believe if I start a new book, a new novel,
Mhm.
it'll be much easier.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I feel like um we talked about too, because Chinese would have been your native tongue, or a Chinese dialect language would have been your mother tongue. You had to learn how to. You already spoke English, but you had to learn how to write it in the realm of storytelling. And I feel like maybe you took a class.
Yeah, I mean, learning the craft is one thing. Every writer has to learn that.
Mhm.
But because the Chinese and English they're so different,
Yes.
and it's extremely extra harder for us, like for the first generation immigrants, right? You came here when you were already adult. It's not as if you came here as a child. I mean,
Mhm.
so say I made a mistake because in Chinese we don't have plural. We don't. We say one child, two child, three child,
Ah,
and we
okay.
only have like one tense. We only have present tense. So we would say I go to school today and I go to school tomorrow, right? And we our verbs do not change with the subject.
That's
So
cool. I wish Spanish was like that. I
yeah,
never could learn Spanish because of all the past tense and present tense and future and all the rigmarole.
yeah, we would say she do, I do, he do.
Yeah.
So the grammar, like Chinese grammar, is much simpler, but it's hard for me to remember all that and write consistently. Like theoretically, I know, but I often forget when I'm writing.
Sure. Because you're
Right?
absorbed in the story.
Yeah, and also I know even like English speakers, they also make grammatical mistakes, but
Yes,
for
we
us,
do.
right? And also our pre- preposition, how do you say?
Preposition.
Yeah, that's I think the hardest thing for us. Because for English grammar, you have there's rules. You just follow the rule, right?
Right.
Corporation.
Theoretically.
There's there's no rule and there's no logic sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to be here long enough, otherwise you get it wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I get you. And even being raised, with the English language, I'll tell you, I detested going through grammar in our English classes growing up. I never did well with that. I was raised by a family that was well spoken, and my dad and my great aunt, my that side of my family were already writers, so
Wow.
it came naturally to me.
Hmm.
But to break down like the grammar, the direct object, the preposition, all that, I was just like, why?
Exactly. Yeah.
Why are we doing this? I detest this.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are all challenges, and I have made mistakes that um I thought I edited my script to death, and I also, not only me, but I hired copy editors. The
Mhm.
problem is that after copy editor did it for you, then you make some changes, right? And
Right.
sometimes I don't know how these little mistakes creeped in. Like I
Mhm.
had no idea, you emailed it, you send it out to publishers or to agents. Only found out, afterward, oh my goodness, there's a mistake on the first page. So, and then it's haunting you, like you never know if they never talk to you. It's because of your writing or
Right.
because of that thing on the first page, right?
True. It is interesting.
Yeah.
But I believe there was we talked about this too. At one point, one of your publishers talked about your how unique your voice was as far as the way you told your story, and you even had a mishap with technology kind of taking that voice away from you.
Exactly. Actually, I think the AI, if you want to use it for editing, you have to be extremely careful because
Mhm.
I the little mistakes I was talking about, how it crept into the first page, not
Mhm.
one but two. I think it's because I used the ChatGPT to just double double editing, double proofreading everything, and that was how the mistake happens. You
Uh-huh.
cannot trust them 100%. And
Right.
also, it's extremely, I think it's almost, it's a common, like it's almost, how do I put it? It's almost, it's a must that they will erase your voice. The AI always erase my voice because I'm Asian. I write about Chinese history. There's a Chinese culture, lots of Chinese cultural references, even the way we speak, you know. And if you use these AIs, they are trained. They're learned from majority from English speaking people,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So even though you gave them all kinds of rules, after just merely maybe 10 minutes, it's
Hmm.
already forget about your rules.
There is some truth to
Literally,
that.
yeah, you have to be extremely careful. For example, I say, okay, please proofreading this passage for me, but please remember, this is a 12 years old girl in China in the 1940s,
Hmm.
and and please make the conversation, make the writing or conversation um, conversational, like make the dialogue conversational, right? Because a 12 years old, and then, oh yeah, AI thought, okay, start to use the words like, this is super cool. And a 12 years old Chinese girl in the 1940s, don't say something super cool.
Oh, it's so true though. It's like it's got limited vocabulary or limited. There's of course no human factor. There's no understanding of what you're really going for. So you do
Some,
have to go back and really watch what it's writing or changing.
sometimes if you're not careful, it will actually change the wording, make it like a meanings opposite of what you.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Or even get landmarks wrong. There was a story I haven't finished yet, but it was set in the rock on the west coast, over closer to the Rocky Mountains,
Yeah.
and it t- tried to make it appear in the east coast in
Oh,
the Appalachian Mountains. So it was just
yeah.
like I had to really like, no, this
Yeah.
place is over on that coast.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. So I learned a really, really hard lessons of that.
Yeah.
because that was like before my first book published was published. We were me and my editor at the publisher house. We were doing the editing. So the last quarter of the book still, we still have to edit it, but we had a deadline.
Yeah.
And I try to, because I also found them editors are they're not 100%. They're not like Superman or Superwoman. They're not 100%
Mhm.
accurate. Like I found some small mistakes, so I thought, okay, I'll ask AI help me. So just
Seem
make
logical.
sure. Yeah, sounds like a reasonable, right? So I worked that day until 4:30 a.m. to try to finish it before the next day, and made sure that AI checked and corrected my things, or did some editing for my last like a quarter of the book.
Mhm.
And after I sent to her, then that was a Good Friday.
Yeah.
And by like 5 o'clock, she called me. She said, "What have you done? What have you done to your book?" Well, to make things worse, I did not keep my original copy because I thought, okay, this is like a deadline's tomorrow. I can't. I didn't have time to go another round anyway. This is it. If I send to her, that's a final draft.
Yeah.
But fortunately, like I didn't have a track like makeup. How do you say track
Mm.
change?
Mhm.
Version of that. So then she just realized though I told her what I have done, and she said we have to go back to your original writing, and we spent hours. Like she had a earlier draft, so we have to try to correct it, like reverse it to the earlier draft, the
Right.
draft before previous draft. And for all that amount of work, the pages, she said ChatGPT only in one situation, ChatGPT's version was better than mine. Only one, like one sentence.
Wow.
All the rest of mine was like better because I had a unique voice.
Yeah.
And not only that, yeah, we met the deadline, but after that, I had to take a 10 months disability leave because my arms were gone.
Right. Because you had what, 24, 48 hours worth of changes to do, right? You worked nonstop for 2 days
No, no,
to
no.
fix
I didn't
everything?
not for 2 days, for just probably like 12 hours or something, like half day.
Still.
But
Still, that's
that
a
was
lot.
to down me. Yeah,
Yeah, for 10 months of disability, and I did have a note about that.
yeah.
Um,
So I learned a really hard lesson.
Absolutely. Now, let me see what my other notes about this was. Um, 9 p.m., is that the time of day you usually do your writing? Because I have something about 9 p.m. happy hour.
Yeah, I'm feeling happy hour. Yeah, that is when like before COVID, we still have to go to work. But I
Okay.
work on commission, so I can just dictate my own time. So
Mhm.
I would usually go to workplace, especially for the first 15 years. I would go to workplace, work at 9 a.m., work until 9 p.m., then start
Mhm.
writing. So I call after 9 p.m., it was my happy hour. And
Okay.
I would work until like 11, 12, 1, 2. So some people would say, oh my God, you worked so hard. But to me, that happy hour was the one kept me going. Actually, for the whole day, I would, look forward to that 9 p.m.
Nice. So it
Yeah,
truly was your happy hour.
that was almost like a word for my 12 hours working day.
Yes. Well, absolutely.
Yeah,
It's the escape to, happy times, or maybe at least, times that touch your heart because of the family connection. I mean, I know you guys dealt with a whole lot. So, happy times is maybe not the right word there. But I want to go back because there was something in my notes here about you being on disability leave and in the garden when you finally figured out an angle, and there's a connection also with a bunch of letters you had kept.
yeah, that was 23 years ago. That was when I was first injured.
Hmm.
So I was on disability leave for like 2 years. So
Hmm.
that was like a 2004 at the end of 2 years, but I still couldn't go back to work. One day I was doing gardening, and then because I want to write my family stories into books, but I did not have an angle. I did not know how to start, where to start.
Hmm.
And one day I was in the garden, all of a sudden I thought, it just this idea came to me. Okay, I could write a series of letters. Like one sister in Canada writes letters to her sister in China, recounting the family history. That's how I
Oh,
started
so
in China.
that's the format of the story. Then it's like a series of letters written that way.
That was how it was started. And
Okay.
I also wrote in Chinese because I simply did not believe I could write in English.
Mhm.
But after about 17 letters, I had to stop. One, because of my arms, I just simply couldn't go on anymore. The second, I just realized writing in Chinese wouldn't get me any help. Right? How was I going to get into critique group, beta readers, publishers, editors? So I stopped for 2 years until 2006. I realized I needed to take writing courses. So that's
And
when
that
I started, yeah, creative
okay.
writing courses and start to learn the craft and start to write. I abandoned the letter format and just the traditional novel, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. See, and I'm glad I went back and asked because that's a big part of your story because you had that desire, you had all this information about your family, all these stories bubbling up in you. And then that day when you had that epiphany, when you had that idea of, okay, this is the angle,
yeah,
but then that additional challenge of writing it in Chinese versus writing it in English. So that's a huge part of your story that I'm glad that we're including in this.
yeah. I think what I have learned from this experience that do not afraid of how you start,
Yeah.
where you start, as long as you start. Even your
Uh,
beginning can be wrong or that wouldn't work, but as long as you start, right? And
Absolutely.
as
I
long as you
completely agree.
keep going, you're getting better. You'll get better and better.
Absolutely. But you do. You have to start somewhere.
You have to start somewhere. Yeah,
Got to take that first step. Otherwise, you're just going to stay idle.
that's right. Yeah.
Absolutely. So as we're getting ready to reach toward the end, we still got a couple things to talk about, but do you have anything specific you would like to share with our audience, either about your upcoming book or about maybe advice that you'd like to share with other people who maybe are writing their stories or looking for their publisher?
Well, first of all, I just want to say a little bit about this book. First of all, like getting professional help, because if I hadn't hired a whole bunch of editors I hired editors, both structure editors and the copy editors, and manuscript evaluators and the beta readers, and I was in the critique group, and it just without this, I like this book so far. It won 4 literary awards, and it's a finalist list for another like 6.
Wow.
So it's my debut novel. But without all this help, I don't think I could achieve that. Probably wouldn't even find a publisher. So that is crucial, important. As a emerging writer or beginner, you need to be open to feedback and critique. But at the same time, be careful with that. A critique group is very safe, a safe environment.
Mhm.
Professional editors, they're really good. But if you start to just show it around to your friends without finishing the first draft, it could be dangerous because your friends they don't know how to give you constructive feedback, right? Some could say, "Oh, it's great, everything's great." Then you don't know how to improve. Some could say, "Oh, this is horrible," or then you wouldn't even be able to finish your first draft.
Right.
So if you want to show to your friends, wait until you finish your first draft.
I
At least,
really agree with you because even the most supportive friends or family,
yeah,
they want you to succeed, but sometimes they actually slow down the process
yeah,
because they want it to be perfect. And sometimes you can't, perfection is elusive. Perfect may never happen.
yeah,
And so it's best to get it out there, even if it isn't perfect, because you can always update. Ideally, getting the
yeah.
help like you did, wonderful, from outside source that's not going to slow down the process.
Yeah,
But
and
yeah.
I also found that some like emerging writers, they could be like you need to be humble, right? You're just you're a beginner. Even experienced writer, we still need a positive like a feedback. basically, right? We still need to improve. But I found some writers like they once you try to give them feedback and they start to define their writing. So when that happens a few times, then you just stop. Then
Right.
they won't receive anything, right?
Right.
So of course, when people give you feedback, you don't have to take it,
No.
right? If you don't, you can. If you don't think it's valid, you can just ignore it. But if
Exactly.
if it's more than three people give you the same feedback,
Right. Then there must be something to it.
it's not quite right there.
Absolutely. Well, it's like looking in a mirror. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
if to us, you might do your hair without a mirror and think, okay, it looks just right. But then when you go to that mirror, which are those professionals, those friends, well, here's this adjustment that needs to happen. Here's this adjustment that needs to happen to make you look good.
yeah.
So,
Zoe, yeah, I want to add something really, really. You remind me of a really interesting like a story.
okay.
At one point of time, I was on the way um to go to a public hearing, and when I was at home doing makeup, I did a
Mhm.
half face, like a vertically half face. Then a phone came in. After I answered the phone, I forgot about the other half face.
Whoops.
I didn't find out until on the way in the car because a friend was driving me. So I checked the, the little mirror above in front, right?
Yeah,
That was when I found I had a half face.
that is great. What did you do?
Oh, we did an emergency detour to a Shoppers Drug Mart, and I went in, charged in, and the front the clerk said, how can I help you? Like I said, just show me chips to make like a cosmetic thing. So she took me to this counter, and that's like a cheap stuff, right? Because I only need it for that once. So I
Right.
bought a few things, and we rushed to the city hall, our city hall. And as I walked in, my name was already announced. But I still have because it's a group, like every five people go in together, 4 or 5. So I still have a little bit of time. So I
Mhm.
rushed into the washroom and tried to do the other half. And the quality of this cheap stuff were so bad that my lipsticks just broke into half.
Oh boy. There is a story or a metaphor in there. I think you have another article to write or something based on that story alone.
So it was, and when my friend dropped me off at the Shoppers Drug Mart, he couldn't even park in the front because there's a police car and the police was around. We didn't walk up. So he had to drive around and constantly around waiting for me. It was such a story.
That is great though. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what if you did not have time and you had to go in like that? Like,
Yeah, you
could
have
you
to
have
go, yeah,
sold it?
after.
Say it's like I'm making a statement,
Yeah,
something,
like maybe like thousands of people would watch that, right?
right?
But if I walk in with half face makeup, I think most people remember me.
I would say so. They definitely would. You would be memorable. Yes, that's great though. That's a great story. It made me
Yeah,
think of a time that in my early 20s, I used to work nights on the phone,
yeah,
and I had a night where I stayed up all night, and
yeah,
my roommate worked early mornings. So I stayed up all night, made her breakfast, and basically distracted her while she was getting ready.
yeah.
So she went to work because she asked my opinion about some shoes with two very different shoes on and did not know it until later in the day. So
Oh,
she walked around all day with a
with
pump
yeah,
and a sling back, like it has like sandal, right?
yeah,
A sling and modeled a dress, walked around, and did not know it till later in the day. And oh my goodness, once she figured it out, everyone figured it out because they saw her like deep blush. But yeah, moments like that, they're great. They're
exactly.
stories. We love the
Yeah,
stories,
yeah. Hey, you never know. Someone may think that's a new fashion, right?
right? It's so true.
Yeah,
And if nothing else, it just gives us an opportunity to laugh. And
that's right. Yeah,
what's better in life than having an opportunity to laugh?
yeah.
So your next book you're come do you have a date when it comes out, or you're
No,
still looking for the
I don't
agent?
have a date. Yeah.
You're looking for the agent.
Yeah.
So something
I,
for all of us to look forward to, and we
that's
can watch your website for updates.
Yeah, and
Okay.
also one more thing. So if to the audience, if you like my book, if you've checked out my book, it's available on Amazon, Indigo, Barnes and Noble, Walmart, Apple Read, a whole bunch of places. But if you like it, I really, really appreciate if you can leave a Google or I mean Goodreads or Amazon review because it is crucially important to us, especially we have a small publishers, right? Small traditional publishers, they don't have much money for marketing at all. So
Absolutely.
the readers' feedback is so important to us. That's what kept us going.
Okay.
Yeah.
And tell me one more time the name of the book.
Oh, it's called the House Filler.
The House Filler.
Yeah,
Okay, the House Filler. And thank you for giving us a visual, because now
yeah.
we all know what to look for. So
Oh,
the
by the
house.
way, just really
Yeah.
quickly, in Chinese culture, in the old time, when a woman marries a widower, she's called a house filler.
Oh, well,
That's
that's
where the
cool.
name comes from. Yeah.
Okay. So the House Filler is available on Amazon.
Yeah.
And actually put that up on the screen just for people to be able to see that as well while we get down to our last question here. So
Hmm.
let me do this here. Add banner.
Oh, you probably needed to type in Tong Ge as well because Amazon sells lots of stuff, right? If one just put the house filler, you get the household items. You don't even
Oh
see my
my.
first page.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Of course, they
Yeah,
have your website and you've just told them that verbally. So I'm still going to leave that on the bottom here.
great.
So let me get down to our surprise question, and then we'll get your question for the next person.
Yeah.
So this is from when you were a kid or any time in your life, but the question is, what would you say is your favorite book, basically of all time, and why did it inspire you?
Wow, there's so many. Um, can I name two? Not just one.
Yeah, you can absolutely.
Yeah, the first one is a short story written by a Chinese writer in the 1920s,
Hmm.
and the title is called The Story of RQ. It's actually have English translation. It's
Okay.
such a classic in China. It's influenced generations of Chinese. Like not only Chinese writers, but the Chinese in general. Like if you talk to a Chinese who have ever went to even middle school or you say junior high, that person would know this author and this book. So it's just so deep. It's a short story, but oh, it's just wonderful.
Okay.
And the second one I would say is Ayn Rand. I like her all her books, but I like The Fountainhead. I like even With Living and Atlas Shrugged. But if I have to name one, I would name The Fountainhead.
The Fountainhead.
The
Okay.
Fountainhead, yeah.
Okay. Very cool. And have you had time to think about what question you'd like to leave for our next person who's interviewed?
Yeah, I would ask what is the most important life lesson you learned so far,
Important
or
life lesson.
a lesson in life you have
Okay. Very
learned?
good.
Yeah.
I like that. That's an excellent question. Of course, I'm never going to tell you when they've got a bad question, but that really is an excellent question. All right. Well, I have really appreciated you being on here with us, and I'm just looking forward to getting your episode out there on Spotify and YouTube and the other channels that I'm still working to get on board. But thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to end the session, and it'll be just a moment here.
Thank you, Zoe. It's my pleasure.
You're very welcome.